We're going to be leading forward in North Attleboro as what we found out to be the first public school district in the Commonwealth to potentially bring students back before the month of April, 4 days a week in grades pre-K through 12. We have to make sure we share out right now the safety measures that are in place. This is all about safety. It's all about keeping people COVID-free, making sure our schools are as safe for our staff and our students as possible to be in. And we purchased hundreds upon hundreds upon hundreds, close to $1 million worth of individual COVID-19 room air filters that purify the air. We deep clean our schools every single day. We purchased N95 face coverings we have available for all staff, all students if they so choose to wear an N95. We have a plastic face shield for any teacher who wants a plastic face shield or staff member, touchless faucets, touchless toilets, proper physical distancing, proper signage for physical distancing and hand washing, community support to enforce everything. And then we proactively advocate for staff vaccinations. We in North Attleboro were able to get students back into school and be one of the first districts in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts to bring them back live in person during summertime. Where others said it couldn't be done, we had that happen with 0 instances of COVID spread at all in our schools. We'd always planned on bringing back kindergarten students as one of our first measures right off the bat for a myriad of reasons I don't need to get into right now as why this is important, especially the tremendous growth in the brain of a child at the younger ages. Elementary is so important. But March 8th is our kindergarten date of return to 4 days of in-person learning. March 15th, grades 6 through 12 would come in the following Monday. These are all Mondays here, 4 days a week. And March 22nd, grades 1 to 5 would come back 4 days a week. Wednesdays are being held sacred right now because we want to make sure our teachers can plan during those days additionally and collaborate with each other to ensure that these students get the best education they can because students are still going to be in a fully remote model. The state guidelines say that public schools right now, today's date, and it may change in a few weeks, but right now, public schools have to offer a fully remote opportunity for students and parents who so choose that. So just so we know, as we're bringing back students 4 days a week, there is a possibility for parents to be allowed to say, I don't feel comfortable with this, Scott, public school system in North Attleboro. I want my child to be fully remote. That's okay. We have availability for that to happen also, which we'll describe in a minute. So the transportation guidelines from DESE, the capacity limitations and physical distancing requirements for students on buses are lifted. The initial school guidance that came from DESE, though, this physical distancing helps mitigate virus transmission. Aim for 6 feet between individuals when feasible. A minimum physical distance of 3 feet is appropriate as informed by evidence. Our nurses who have been meeting with children who have tested COVID positive in our schools. Some children come into school and all of a sudden during the daytime they start to exhibit physical symptoms where it starts to show up like it might be a cold. We have a Binax Now rapid test that we have. We test those students. The majority of the students have tested negative. A few have tested positive, but our nurses on the front lines, not a single nurse has caught COVID from a child who had COVID. Everyone's been COVID free. Why? They're wearing their masks, they're wearing their shields, they're performing the techniques as they're supposed to do, and transmission is not occurring. These are occurring not because of in-school spread of COVID. It's important just to know that we report these out. These are there because students, possibly staff, pick up the virus potentially outside of the walls, brick and mortar walls of the school. And then later on, parents or staff call us and say, my child started to get sick over vacation. I got a call in that my child tested positive for COVID. And then these get reported and documented and we contact trace from that. Our current reality, we're following DESE guidance of no closer than 3 feet with 6 foot preferred, maximizing space of desks in each classroom. We just put a picture in there so you can see the maximized space between these desks. Extra materials removed, books, cases, file cabinets, potentially extra desks were in there. We took all those out just to keep as much room as possible in the room. It's got the teacher's name, number of students in the room. You can see the distance for all. If you look down the side of the sheet here, you can see that the closest we get in any room with the students are near each other is 4.5 feet. Again, well within the initial recommended guidance of more than 3 feet. Other places have maximized to the 6 feet, which is what we have. So we want to make sure all these students in kindergarten are afforded the opportunity to come back 4 days a week. Then we phase it in with middle school the following week. Week after that, we do the rest of the elementaries, and high schools in the middle week also. I'm excited about it. Like I said, we're forward facing pioneers of doing this. And I think that this is, and my team thinks this is the right move to do with the community.
Thank you. I just real briefly, I just wanted to say, and I thank you for this opportunity, just to say that the public health indicators do support the opening of schools. We're seeing, as Superintendent Holcomb mentioned, we're seeing a decrease in the number of cases and the decrease in the positivity rate of cases. We're down to 2.96%, and I'm hoping that trend continues and we'll be a green community sooner rather than later. There's so many public health issues around remote learning for certain students, you know, the emotional, mental, and academic health of the students, those who struggle with the remote, whether they have learning needs, isolation, or they don't have support at home. And as we know, the stress is on parents. So I think doing it safely, and the school have done a phenomenal job with the safety of the environment, the teachers and the students, and just I appreciate the fact, the willingness of the schools to be able to go into this and being supportive of it.
We're ready to go forward with a vote on the motion. This is a roll call vote. John Costello,
Yes.
James McKenna asking Ethan Hamilton,
Yes.
James McKenna asking Catherine Hobbs,
Yes.
James McKenna asking Kevin O'Donnell,
Yes.
James McKenna asking Sarah Stone,
Yes.
James McKenna asking Carol Wagner,
Yes.
and James McKenna votes yes.